All right, today is Friday, October 13th, 2023. You're listening to ALI-M.O.N.Y, Ali, Mayor of New York. I believe this is number 10, wherein I discuss what I would do if I was the Mayor of New York City or running for Mayor of New York City. And I decided to do it in a series of, I guess you call these podcasts, musings, what have you. But for under 30 minutes, I just discuss a topic. And a lot of it, as I said, may be repetitive. But hopefully somebody enjoys my voice enough to go, I don't really care what this guy is talking about. He puts me to sleep. And I need something to fall asleep because the times, they are crazy. We are a world at war. Now, you may want to say, well, this is not a world war, but when nations are at war in various parts of the world, I think the only thing needed to connect it all is other nations to come on board to make allies and axes, and people saying, we're on these people's side and we're on these people's side, and we will deploy our capital, our military might to help them. Once that happens, then it's a world war. But already there are two major wars going on right now. Not to mention all the minor wars, all the skirmishes, and all the inequities and inhumanities that are being perpetrated by larger nations on smaller groups of people who have no means of really fighting. I guess there was a time when soldiers came with swords and guns and farmers could sharpen their implements and someone would come and train them to fight against these warriors. They could stand up to it, potentially, but even then, throughout history is people who had guns, germs, and steel before the people they invaded had them, and they went in, they invaded, and they marauded. And I suppose it's all brainwashing, and that's the thing we have to understand. To be a human being is to be brainwashed. And again, I'm supposed to be talking about running for mayor of New York, and I will, but again, my platform is very simple. Clean streets, safe streets, free streets. That's not only for New York City, I think. That is nationally and globally. But I mean, what do you do? How do you clean your street when it's been bombed, when it's been decimated, when buildings have been collapsed? Now, sometimes this happens due to earthquakes, and there are earthquakes happening around the world right now. Marrakesh, Afghanistan. And some of these roads and, streets and sidewalks are not paved. They're made of dirt, cobblestone, rock. So how do we keep just our stoop clean, maybe? And I know there's a big movement right now about just starting with your bathroom, but even I would get more specific. Start with your medicine cabinet, then go to under your sink, then go to your toilet, then go to your shower, and really get in there. Get in there like an artist and clean out your bathroom like an artist. Take everything out of the medicine cabinet, if you have one. Again, whenever I speak, I have to be aware of my privilege. I think that would be a good t-shirt as well. I am aware of my privilege. The privilege of having a medicine cabinet, the privilege of having a bathroom, the privilege of having a toilet. This is all privilege. It's luck. I think most of life is luck. I'm lucky in the time of history I was born. I was born in 1968. But I could have been born in 1868, 1768. That's why I believe there's no free will. I was born in a different country. I was born in Esfahan, Iran in 68. I did not choose the time in history I was born. I did not choose my parents, and I did not choose for them to move from Iran to eventually North Carolina, where I grew up. So there's no free will. And because of their decisions, I made decisions. So for me to say, I would have gone to the University of North Carolina anyway, no matter where my dad got a job as a country doctor, probably disingenuous. I went to the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, because I was from North Carolina, and it was one of the schools that people recommended we apply to at the small country day that I went to in Louisville, North Carolina. So there is no free will, I do not believe. And I think most of life is luck. Luck of when you were born in history, who your parents were, where you came to the earth from. In Farsi, when they say where, they don't say where you were born, they ask where did you come to the earth from? Meaning, when you were born from your mother, where were you? We came to the earth from this place. Again, I want to talk about things that relate to being mayor of New York, but also for people to get to know me, because I think that's a large part of this, is we never get to know people, really know them. And as I said, I'm doing this as much for myself, to talk out loud, get to know myself, know my own thoughts. And maybe one person listens to these and goes, this guy's voice puts me to sleep. And that's all I really need. Yeah, sure, what he's saying is interesting or not interesting. I may have issue with it or I may not, but he's got one of those sleepy voices that allows me just to put it on. He doesn't pop too much, doesn't go up and down. I don't know right now what I could possibly do aside from trying to keep the businesses we run clean and organized. The streets I have businesses on, clean as possible as we can, but everything is either, as I've said, and I'll repeat things, act of love or cry for help. Everything that's not love is fear. So every time you see litter on the street, it's a cry for help. It's somebody saying, no one told me not to do this, or I didn't have a parental role model around telling me not to litter, or I get my power from just throwing my garbage on the ground as I walk by, or misery loves company, or hurt people, so I'm a person who is hurting, so I want to hurt others, and I'll do that by littering, honking my horn, riding my bike on the sidewalk, scaring people, or in more horrible ways, perpetrating violence on people. But hurt people, and that's even happening right now on a national, global level. A country, and again, I'd rather keep this fairly evergreen, but a country that was hurt by a group of terrorists is blaming where the terrorists came from. And they want to hurt people because they were hurt. It's understandable. One of the ideas I had for New York City is to create content. And gosh, I would really love if aliens came down here and just kind of told us what we need to do to get it together. Because if aliens came down here, they would know exactly how much everybody has in their bank account. They'd be able to tell us what is fair for rent, what's a fair price for an egg and cheese on a roll. But everything is dictated by the rent and insurance. And they'd be able to look into insurance companies' coffers and say, you have this much money, you don't need this much, here's what you actually need to charge for insurance. They would be able to look at things in a way that we can't even begin to look at. In terms of when you sue, how much can you sue for? What is the right amount to sue when something happens? What is fair? I mean, how do we, and again, they may have tools that we may not even have ideas about. Like I said, like the Epiphany laser. They probably have, aliens to some degree, the ability to put us all to sleep immediately, take all our lives immediately, zap us so we're not here, transport us, teleport us elsewhere. Because ostensibly what you're thinking of aliens is they found the math we found hundreds of thousands of years ago, where we found it 2,000 years ago. And they found that same math 500,000 years ago, which led to exponential growth. Already, we're at a place right now with AI where artificial intelligence is talking to each other, two different artificial intelligence, in a language they created that we don't know. That's how fast it happens. And then once it happens, it's that same story of, would you rather have $1 million or a penny doubled every day for a month? And some people go, I'll take the million. They think quickly. But a penny doubled every day for a month, I think, gets into the billions. That's how fast it grows. So somebody who found pi 3.14, I'm not just saying great pie, although I'd love to see more pie shops in New York City, but it's not easy. Again, everything is contingent on the rent, the insurance, payroll. So someone who's like, I make great pies, but honestly, I just don't know how I'd be able to afford to run a pie shop because of all the other costs surrounding a pie shop. But there are so many empty spaces as I walk around New York City for rent signs. And in my phone, in my photo albums on my iPhone, one of them is for rent signs of businesses, and I believe it's close to 500 businesses for rent signs. And that's just me walking around and not actively trying to go out and look for rent signs, but I walk, I see a sign, I take a picture. What I do with it, I don't know yet. I think maybe there's some bit of content in it, a coffee table book of some kind, some way to look at that and go, think twice before you open a business. Because these are all the businesses that I just took a picture of who bought a sign, got work done, did some lighting. So, but I had this one thought. I mean, again, I want to talk about, being mayor of New York and what I would do. I think you have to kind of, in this modern world, take into account the media of everything is content. So if I was mayor of New York, I would find or allow everybody from around the world who lives in New York to submit their clothing for me as the mayor to wear. And I would say once every week, starting on Monday, from say Monday through Friday, I would wear the clothing of a certain group of people. And it would be up to them to decide and submit. And some of them may go, we're not interested in this. And some might say, yes, great. This is our traditional clothing. This is what we wear in our culture. And I would wear that. And it'd be random and it'd be drawn. And, you'd figure out what are the, let's just say for argument's sake, the 200 nations. So every week I would wear a different outfit for the whole week. I think one day gets to be kind of like problematic. And even once a week, changing your clothing has its own challenges. And people say, well, who's going to pay for this? I mean, who's going to pay for you to be dressed up like you look like you come from this country? Well, the idea is the clothing would be made. It would be paid for. People would be paid. We have to find ways to pay people, for the materials and labor. And then potentially this clothing can be turned into a museum that people can go visit that can, again, generate revenues for New York City. And again, it's not about me, but it's in about 5 to 10 to 20 years from now. This mayor came along and he said, every week I will wear the clothing of a different culture of New York City that they chose. They'll dress me. Monday morning we'll have a press conference. They'll talk about the clothing that I'm wearing, where it came from. They'll talk about their culture. And for a week I will walk in their shoes. I will wear the shoes that they wear and the clothing they wear. Now, I might need insoles. I've had some plantar fasciitis issues, and I've got something going on in the ball of my right foot. I'm seeing a doctor about right now, but out of nowhere, I've got this kind of ball in my right foot pain. I think no matter who you are, always try to get the best shoes you can. Take care of your teeth. Take care of your eyes. But your feet are something you really got to stay on top of. So, look, regardless if I'm wearing clogs or sandals or slippers, I might have to put an insole in there. I'm not sure. But each week I would wear the clothing and I would walk in the shoes of those people. And I think it would be filmed. I think, to some degree you have to bring in the media and maybe even turn the mayor of New York into a reality show where there's a GoPro on me. It's being filmed. And how do people make money from content? I mean, ostensibly, you're making it from advertising dollars. So, in fact, the other day I was walking to the subway, the E train on 53rd and 3rd, and I saw like a milk advertisement that had taken over the whole stairwell, and I thought this was one of my ideas. But it would be taking this organic milk, I think it was called Organic Valley, but they would take over the whole subway, and they would have a 5-year lease to license the subway. And it would be their job to make sure everything is clean, organized, secure. We would still take care of the escalators, the elevators, the trains, the tracks. But companies would come in and take over the aesthetics of it. And by doing this, this generates rent for the city in a way where you're going to have to advertise anyway. Why not advertise in one of the, and I've got to look this up, I believe it's 150 to 200 subway stops, and find places on buses where people can advertise as well to increase the advertising. I mean, whenever you see sci-fi movies or futuristic movies, it's always a lot of advertising everywhere. That's kind of where it's heading towards, where we just have to be cool with, like, these people have money, they want to sell you their product. And again, that's the tough part is, where do we draw the line where we say, look, we're not going to let tobacco or big sugar advertise in the subways or the buses because we feel like this is a detriment. But then they're going to call you a nanny state. So I would say finding a way to turn New York City into content. We still have to do the work anyway. A mayor still has to do the work of the city. And I think at this point, from here on out, a mayor of any major city is just putting out fires, is dealing with fires nonstop. And there are tasks that no mayor in their term will be able to solve. They are not month and day and week issues. They are years and decade issues. Things that it will take a long time to turn this around. When you get into shape, it might take you 6 months of really working hard to a year. Really consistent, disciplined work. But you can lose that in about 2 months, 3 months. So how we got here is complicated. It happened moment to moment, day by day, little by little. Rents went up, costs went up, everything started costing more. And as you can hear, you may or may not be able to hear it, the sirens. They're fairly consistent and constant now. And because of traffic, there is sirens with honking. And as I've said, one of the things I would look into is, do they need to be this loud? Can we recalibrate these sirens to something, I don't want to say more pleasing, but a volume necessary for those who are 1 to 2 to 3 blocks away to hear it? Maybe not 6 blocks away. But whenever you hear a siren, I would like to think that a thought goes from your heart to the hearts of the people in the vehicle, wishing them the best of luck on the challenge ahead, and maybe to the people in the ambulance. I think if you try to find a way to live with gratitude and love in your heart, you can try to send, nothing travels faster than the speed of thought. I believe it travels faster than the speed of light. In order for light to get from here to across the world, it takes a certain amount of time. In order for a thought, a love, a prayer, whatever you want to call it, to get from here to the other side of the world, it's almost instantaneous. The moment you begin to have love in your heart for somebody, or a thought for somebody, or wishing them well, no matter where they are, I believe it gets there. Will it facilitate change? Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe it's imperceptible. Maybe the change it facilitates is in you. That by you having this loving thought, this thought of gratitude, that you begin to change. And as Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world. So it's up to us to change. Now this is interesting, this beeping sound of going backwards. It'd be interesting to see where that began. But I believe that's necessary to some degree, backing up, letting people know I'm backing up. I can't see, my vehicle's too big. And I believe this is somebody going to the public storage across the street to store their stuff. The basics are pretty simple. If we clean the streets, and again, it's being allowed to have the conversation. Is anybody going to come and paint these graffitied green mailboxes on a consistent basis? Meaning the moment they get graffitied, is somebody going to come and paint them? If not, may we paint them without fear of reprisal? If we paint them, may we send in our receipt of the paint and the rollers and be reimbursed? Or is there a mechanism in place where the city will send it to you? Or is there a program to potentially take these green mailboxes and allow artists to either come in or be given permission to paint them themselves in an artistic way? I'm not saying all of them have to be turned into, I think it's R2D2, CP3O, the round silver one. I think CP3O was the gold dude. And R2D2, yes, R2D2 was the little guy. Now look, I could see a lot of R2D2s as those green mailboxes. And that's cool. Look, if they're all different R2D2s, because R2D2 is just one version of that robot. I guess they can all look alike but have different personalities, because even R2D2 had a personality. He really did. The guy was mischievous, but he was a robot. And CP3O was more of a animatron, android, cyborg, robot, but he seemed to be more sentient. But R2D2, that guy, God, he could crack you up. He was a funny little guy. But I mean, so my point being is the shell of R2-D2s might all look alike, but people may have dressed up their R2-D2s, put a jaunty hat on them, in some way taken their R2-D2, fixed it up a little bit. So look, I wouldn't mind if every mailbox in the city is an R2-D2 looking thing. It'd be something to look at. It'd be hopeful. It'd be better than walking by and seeing chaotic tagging and graffiti that's just a cry for help. It's a cry for help. When I see good graffiti, good art, I'm like, okay, that's artistic. Someone's taken a moment to draw something. And then there's those who want to be artists, but all they can do right now is spend their money on paint or maybe shoplift paint, steal paint, and that's another thing we have to deal with. I mean, it saddens me that I think about this Target store closing in Harlem, where the Costco and the Aldi is, and I think to myself, have you tried everything? Have you done everything you can, Target, to not be a target for shoplifters? Or have you just kind of gone through the kind of like, okay, we put a couple of security at the door, we did this, but have you done everything to go, look, if we're going to go out, let's go out swinging. Let's hire off-duty police officers. Let's get scanners. Let's get cameras. Let's get a line. Let's go, look, we didn't want to do this, but we have to have a membership program like Costco. And I believe Costco's membership is $60 a month. They're on the same floor, I believe, as Target, or in the same area. And they're not closing. Why aren't people running into Costco, grabbing stuff and leaving? Because you have to show your membership to get into Costco. So you can't even walk into Costco without a membership. And for some reason, people honor this. And as I said before, Costco will tell you they make their money off of memberships and make some money off the stuff they sell. But I still think, when you're doing that kind of volume, even a 5, 10, 15% profit off of everything you sell, meaning 15 cents on the dollar, it adds up. So it saddens me when I think of that Harlem Target going out of business, because I think, did you do everything you could? Because you're losing a lot of jobs. And again, we have to be in the jobs creation business. We have to figure out a way to create as many jobs as possible. And some of those jobs may just be cleaning the city in different shifts. I walked by a garbage can today at 28th and 7th, and it was overflowing. It was like an ice cream cone. And I see these ice cream cone garbage cans everywhere, meaning the garbage can is the cone, the garbage is the ice cream on the top, and it is like a dome, meaning people are trying. They're putting their garbage on it. They keep adding to it. It becomes a game of pick up sticks where it's just like giant Jenga with a garbage can. And garbage is just being placed. And people are like, I'm trying. I wanted to throw my garbage into a can, but now I'm just putting it on top of a cone of garbage. And again, I don't know. Is it adding more garbage cans? Is it picking up more regularly? What is the plan to make sure that when we see that the people are trying and the city is failing, the city goes, how can we do better? How can we, on a basic level, make sure there's less garbage on the streets, or when you throw your garbage away? We produce a lot of garbage. As I've said, I've been to other cities where there's no garbage can, but there's also very little garbage on the street because those folks are holding on to it. They have a culture of hold on to your garbage until you get to here and throw it away. But right now, we've got a lot of souls on the streets of New York who are out of sorts. So for them, they're just throwing the garbage on the streets. And again, the challenge is New York City has the potential to be a premier first world city. But a lot of people right now are coming from third world countries where they're not even thinking about garbage on the streets, garbage pickup. They're not thinking about bicycles on sidewalks. They're doing it. They're like, what's the big deal? I'm riding a bike on a sidewalk. You're walking. We're all good. You're like, no, we're not good. This is not the way it should be. And it'll continue to become like this until where do the pedestrians walk? Because there'll be multiple bicycles on sidewalks and multiple scooters and multiple delivery vehicles. Amazon delivery, where they have the long wagon on the end attached to a electric bicycle, and now they're going down the sidewalk. I mean, if we have these bike lanes, then let's use these bike lanes. And if the bike lanes are going to go both ways, let's write arrows to go both ways and say, look, the bike lanes now, we're going to go both directions. But right now they go one direction. So if you're going the wrong direction, people are frustrated with you. Happened to me yesterday. I was walking across the street. I looked the way the bikes are supposed to be coming, and I almost stepped into the bike lane, but I looked to my right, and there's a guy in an electric city bike comes right by me. And again, if I hadn't already been hit one time because of this, I got hit once because this time in the beginning, when they had the bike lanes, I didn't look both ways. I looked the way the bike was supposed to be coming. I stepped into the bike lane, and a guy was going the other way, and he hit me. And it could have been a lot worse. I got dinged up a little bit, but from then on, it's like, okay, you got to look both ways. In New York City, you got to have your head on a swivel. You can't just be walking around la-di-da. You got to be looking around. You got to be taking in your environment. You've got to just have a lot of situational awareness in New York City. I wanted to talk about the clothing this time. And as I said, I don't want these to go over $29.59. But I wanted to talk about walking in other people's shoes, as a mayor. And that I would be happy to do that. To say, look, each Monday morning, I wear a different cultural uniform clothing from a culture. I wear it Monday through Friday. Saturday and Sunday, I probably left to my own devices. And then Saturday and Sunday, I would like to go to services. Sunday morning, I'd like to go to a different service every Sunday morning, and a service on either Friday or Saturday night. As mayor, look, the work to be done as mayor is mostly going to be done during the day. But it's also a 24/7, 365 job. But a mayor should be allowed to go to the theater. Why live in New York City if you're not going to try to go see theater or live music or sporting events? So that would be part of it as well. But I think turning it into a reality show where you get to see the mayor where he is, what he's doing, where he's going, talking to people. As I said, it's where's the money going to come from that? It's going to come from advertisers, people who advertise on this reality show, Mayor of New York, ALI-M.O.N.Y, Ali, Mayor of New York. And as I said, I don't want to be Mayor of New York. I don't really want to be a politician. Right now I'm saddened by the state of the world. So it's challenging enough just to put one foot in front of the other and do what I have to do and what I need to do and what's asked of me to keep these small businesses, bricks and mortar businesses going, because I don't know. I just don't know what's the hope of the world now? Are we just going to live like this? But maybe it's always been like this. We just know it more because of our devices and because of everybody's a citizen journalist and everybody's got a camera and everybody's got a video camera and they're posting it. So maybe if anywhere throughout history I would have seen the level of horror, which I probably would have just read about and maybe in a newspaper or heard a story about, but not seen the visual aspect of it, there would have been less malaise, bittersweetness, dystopian hopelessness. And I want there to be hope. I want there to be a belief that we can change this, and I believe we have to try. What's the option? We just allow. I mean, I saw what happened to the streets during COVID when no one was here. They became a mess, a garbage mess everywhere because we just stopped. We weren't here. Our businesses were closed. And so at that point, we were just sweeping and cleaning outside of our buildings where the businesses were in. Now we do the whole street in the morning and the whole street in the afternoon for our bar and our comedy theater. But entropy is the natural order of things. Things are falling apart. And if you don't patch, paint, fix, freshen up, refurbish, then it will continually deteriorate. So I think, that's it. Life is Sisyphean. It's pushing that rock up the hill every day, and then it rolls back down, and then you roll it back up again, and it rolls back down. That's why activities like meditation have to be done daily. Stretching has to be done daily. Walking has to be done daily. Cleaning yourself, eating. As I said, I don't want these to last too long, but I wanted just to say a few words about being mayor of New York or running for it, or hopefully someone will take these ideas and utilize them in some way. I love New York City, and I hope New York City loves me in some way. I've loved living here for over 2 decades, and I believe it is and has the potential to be that shiny city on the hill. Do what you can to keep your side of the street clean. I love New York.